Imagine if the Justice League fought off another invasion led by Darkseid. But even though Darkseid was defeated, he still got what he came for. The answer to the anti-life equation. And he found it in Cyborg, the cross between organic and digital material. And what if the anti-life equation was too much for Darkseid to handle, and it corrupted his mind with rage and the desperation to end all life? And imagine if that corruption found its way back to Earth and spread to every screen on the planet, infecting all those who looked at it. That is the setup for DCeased. At the time of making this video, the story spans over 2 main books, 2 spin-offs, and a final installment on the way. And given its care and attention on not only horror and action, but emotion as well, it is easily one of the most enjoyable and rereadable series on the bookshelf. To put it in perspective, it's not all, zombies are eating people. It's really about watching these heroes lose everything they fought for to the anti-life equation, a problem most of the DC universe wasn't born with the power to fix. From their A-list characters like Superman, to their C-list characters like the Pied Piper. Not gonna lie, the C-list characters come in clutch big time, and I didn't even know some of these characters even existed. So don't think DCeased is just DC's greatest heroes versus zombies. At first, I was hesitant to start reading this series until I became more familiar with Tom Taylor's writing. Tom Taylor writes characters in a way that lets each personality shine in every moment. And each character is true to how we know them. Not a single person acts out of character, and they feel distinct and authentic. Every moment is a character establishing moment, and they never miss a beat to show who they are. Tom Taylor also writes every story with so much heart. I was not expecting to get as emotional as I did when reading this series, and there's so many heartwarming moments. The fear and dread and defeat these characters face really contrasts and makes the sweetness and happiness they feel stand out so much more. DCeased is such an authentic and intimate take on the idea of superheroes versus the anti-living. Now, that isn't to say the series shies away from the horrific and graphic content that comes along with zombie-esque stories. People's faces are getting scratched off, characters are getting ripped in half, Jason Todd puts Joker's corpse on the Batmobile, and tons of blood. Lots and lots of blood. But in all honesty, it's pretty tame compared to other comics that tackle the undead. However, the deaths in DCeased can be pretty grisly. Even though there are different art styles throughout the series, the art always matches the tone and never feels misplaced. The art has harder and unclean edges when the character situation is dire and graphic, but the art is a little more inviting and playful when the tone is lighter and there's more happiness to be found in the characters. And that contrast makes the moments of high hopes feel higher and the lower moments lower. That being said, the art in each book is consistent with itself, so you're not jumping between each art style within the same book. Each book has its own art style. Again, at the time of making this video, there's 2 main books, 2 spin-offs, and a final title was announced. DCeased is of course the main book, with Dead Planet being the sequel. The other 2 books fill out details in between. Hope at World's End fills in some of the time skips in the first book with detail that isn't integral to the story, but it adds a lot of emotional journey for a lot of the characters, particularly Damian Wayne, John Kent, and Lex Luthor. It also showcases how important some of the lesser-known characters can be. And then Unkillables takes place during and a little after the first one and focuses entirely on different characters, the major players being Jim Gordon, Cassandra Cain, Jason Todd, and Deathstroke. Despite the whole team being tough as nails, the book still has a lot of heart in it, given the team takes refuge in an orphanage and works to protect the children. Again, Hope at World's End and Unkillables fill in some of the gaps and answers what happens to a lot of the characters, but the main story is in DCeased and Dead Planet. Personally, I recommend reading them all, but if you're not in for the filler, read DCeased and Dead Planet. If you do read Hope at World's End and Unkillables, it doesn't really matter which one of the 2 you read before the other. Personally, I prefer to read Hope at World's End and then Unkillables, but either way, you'll still know what's going on. DCeased is a wonderful take on superheroes versus the anti-living. There's a great mix of horror, action, and emotion. It all balances out and makes for an incredibly rereadable series, and I think what I love most about it is that both superheroes and supervillains work together to face off against the anti-life equation and still struggle. And at the end of the day, it takes everyone working together to find even a glimpse of hope. So those are my thoughts on DCeased. If you really like my content, I would appreciate it if you subscribe and follow me on my social media platforms. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you have a wonderful, great day.